Hello and welcome to We Are Venture, the podcast for venture lifestyles. I'm Lara and this is Ruby.
Hi friends.
This podcast is an insight into our personal experience of creating and launching a startup brand. We're here to give you an honest take on some of the highs and lows and what we've learned throughout the journey so far. Episode 7. Hello. Hi there.
Welcome back.
Welcome back if you've been listening before. If you're new here, welcome.
Welcome.
to the family. Hi, friends. So we're really excited about this one because all of the podcasts so far really have been documenting the journey. It's been reflecting back on the different stages we've had to go through, what kind of creates a brand. And we're at the stage now where we sort of we've brought it to present day and we want to look back on the journey and talk a little bit about what we know now and what we wish we'd have known when we started, basically. Yeah, hindsight is a beautiful thing. We want to kind of talk about, how, like what we've learned from it, some stumbling blocks, and maybe also like advice we would give ourselves back then. And like, big disclaimer, we're not saying that any of this is right.
Or it's for you to do.
Yeah, but, it might be insightful to some people.
Yeah, and it's a way for us to document over the past 4 years what we've been through and how we've developed as co-founders of a brand.
Yeah. And actually, to start with that was one thing I said to you, wasn't it? We decided with this one, because often with the podcasts, we like do notes, don't we? We discuss, and there's never like a structure as such, but we always tend to know the things we want to include. Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah. But with this one, we were like, it's kind of personal experience as well. So we were like, let's go away and just have a think about it and just see what happens organically. And one thing I said was, there's almost nothing there's things I would change, but it's like it all, for me, had to happen in the way it has happened to get us to where we are now. So it's easy to look back and be like, oh, well, I wish we'd have thought of this back then. But then maybe we weren't in the right place for that. So again, it's all timing and things happen for a reason. And everything from like funding, having the money we have now that we maybe didn't 2 years ago. Yeah. Also the ideas themselves, like as we've kind of explained on previous podcasts, the design ideas have really evolved and developed. And so if we'd have gone with previous ideas, we wouldn't have been where we are now. And equally, finding connections and choosing who we were going to work with. Yes, it would have been great if we'd have just found that person to start with, and it would have saved a lot of time, but we didn't, and we couldn't have done that. So in terms of that, I wouldn't change anything in a way. And I also feel like even at the age or the phase we are in our lives now, just as people and as friends, and like we say, 4 years is quite a long time, especially,
it really is.
Well, in anyone's time of life, but like in your 20s especially, like you're just constantly changing your idea of who you want to be as a person, or how you want the world to perceive you, or how you perceive the world. Yeah. And because all of that's also happening around us, there's all these outward influences and it's a huge topic. So yeah.
But I think alongside that, there are a few things that in hindsight, we could have, we have known, we could have shaved a little bit of time off or saved ourselves some cash or a little bit of heartache.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So even just like going through those, I think will, like as you say, hopefully be beneficial to some people. But it's nice for us to like relive those and I can't believe we did that.
I always think with things like that as well, it's best talked about, because for me personally, if I can justify why something happened, then I can move on from it. Like otherwise it'll constantly be in the back of my mind, like, like that regret, or like I can really hold on to it. So it's nice to talk about it, reflect and be like, that happened. Not ideal, but that's fine. Yeah. This is what we've learned. And this is what's got to where we are. So you have like a...
Yeah, I made like a few notes, just almost like some topics that I thought would be a good place to start.
Yeah.
Let's have a little look. So one of the first things, so when I asked myself, what do I wish I would have known when we started like 4 years ago?
Yeah.
One of the first things that came to mind was not to feel pressured to rush the process, but at the same time, don't dwell on decisions too long. I feel like it's a real fine line.
Yeah.
Because as we've said in previous episodes, we do overthink a lot of things. And yes, we're perfectionists, but ultimately, on a lot of occasions, we have gone full circle. Yeah. And yes, it's been nice to explore other options, but I feel like you have to have, or I feel like we've had to have like a cap that we put on it and be like, enough.
Yeah.
Enough, like stop. Just stop going around in circles, like make an informed decision and run with it. Yeah. And if it doesn't work, you go to your plan B, that kind of thing.
Yeah, agreed. I think with anything creative especially, it's sometimes there is that gut feeling and that in the moment, this feels right. But more often than not, it is a whole process and it's a real collaboration. And like we say, all the external influences make a big difference. And so it's kind of natural for that process to happen. Yeah. But I do agree. And I think it's kind of something we have to work on, like as people, not just in business, because I think that's just us, isn't it? I think we are both, maybe one of us more, like I think maybe I can be a bit more decisive with things sometimes, but equally.
Yeah, I feel like you're almost like the anchor that will be like, right, okay, let's stay focused. Yeah. Because I'll flit off on loads of different ideas and be like, what about this? What about that? What about like...
In fact, funny, even the other day, you said something about placement of something on the garment. Yeah. And I was like, love it, Rue.
Yeah, but what are you doing?
What are you doing? Why? Don't do that.
The bulk is in transit.
We've made the decision.
So like, hang on.
But
hear me out.
I can always appreciate it and be like, yeah, no, I see it. Yeah. But I'm not going to allow myself to go that way because it's also something we discussed previously. And we also know that we probably will do it eventually, idea. Yeah. But there's a time where you have to just think, no, like, let's like either simplify this or let's just make that decision. And at the end of the day, with a brand like this, like, because we're perfectionists, which we've kind of talked about before, you want so badly for the final product now to be the ultimate, product. Yeah. And we need to be more open to the fact that it is a work in progress and that it might not be perfect, and that, when in 5-10 years, when we look back at our first collection, it's going to be like, oh my God, like as if.
I feel like it's a bitter pill to swallow for us to be like, but can we perfect that even more? Can that be developed? And again, we just had to cap it and be like, listen, we love the product that we have. Yeah. And we need to get something out there because we can sit on this for another 4 years if we allowed ourselves, you know, and it's one of those things that it's almost like we're looking for problems where there are none.
Yeah. And before you know it, because things move so quickly, if you miss that moment, like it's almost then becomes old and you need to then revisit it. It's like we have to do it now. Yeah. So I think that's relevant to that. I don't know.
But. And I think that kind of leads on to my next point was, if you're creating a product, research that product and take your time. So not to almost like contradict the first point, but it's almost like prioritizing the time that you spend on certain aspects of the brand or what you're trying to create. It's like I found that for us, taking our time to really, first of all, research what was out there, if there was anything like what we were doing, was the biggest one. Yeah. Because even if like just putting in on a search engine, like our concept. Yeah. There's a lot what we could go in with. And just because it didn't pop up in our face, we're like, oh, like, is it out there? Is it not? And that took a while for us to really settle that and be like, no, okay, it's not. Yeah. And it was worth doing the time and like the research. And because that, I'd say that was in the back of our minds for like a couple of months, really. Like, this is our concept. We love it. We've never seen it before, but that's not to say that it hasn't been done. Yeah. Like someone's either already like got it and had it patented.
Yeah, like just because we haven't heard of it doesn't mean it's not.
And it might just be not in use or someone hasn't acted on it, but that still doesn't mean, So, I feel like researching whatever it is, if you're creating a product or you've got an idea, like for us, that was a really like enjoyable stage. And I think we both like let ourselves dream a little bit in that phase.
Yeah.
Because it was so early on and it was all so exciting and like there were no limits.
No.
You know, so I think that was, in hindsight, a really lovely time that I wouldn't have rushed.
No.
But again, you do need to cap it somewhere and just like actually put things into action.
I think I've seen these things recently. So we're both quite organised people, really. Like, we like to do things a certain way and we make lists. We love a list, don't we?
List for lists.
Yeah, exactly. But I have recently seen there's a lot of like business planners and journals and things out there, which we haven't really tapped into yet, have we? No. It might become more useful in the future. But I do think one thing they encourage is like separating your tasks into like the larger tasks that you know are going to take 2 hours to like sit down and really figure out. And then there's like the little 5-minute tasks like, quickly call the bank. Quickly just do this email. And then there's like the medium ones, basically like a 30-minute business call that you've just got to do. So it's like we manage it all just in our own way, don't we?
It's almost like delegation. It's almost like, to start with, we were like taking chunks from all aspects and like, okay, we'll do this and work with that alongside that and do this. And it wasn't the most productive use of our time.
No.
Like, whereas now I feel like we delegate.
We're getting better
who's
at
doing
that.
what. And then we, do you know what I mean? Like come together.
Yeah.
Or like, we still discuss absolutely every aspect together. But it's like, okay, so you're going to make the call. I don't need it on loudspeaker. We don't need to listen to it. Okay, cool. Like I'll be doing this in the meantime kind of thing. I'll send this email.
Yeah. And we've got better. Obviously, it's a different thing when you're working with a friend. I think we've got better at, if we know we're having a call for venture reasons, we'll say, there's a really quick little, hi, how you doing? What are you up to? And then it's like,
that's nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
and then it's like, right, what was the topic of today? What's on the agenda? Okay, so for me, it's this, this, and this. This is what I thought of, and then we go from there.
Yeah.
So again, it's all about.
It's almost like the pleasantries.
Yeah, it is really. Which is because we could talk for ages about life and everything. But I think so. For me, just based on all that, you know, when you're talking about research and using time wisely, I think it's that time management thing.
Yeah.
And again, it comes from naivety and like focus and priorities and and I still think there's stuff we can work on with that. And as the business gets bigger and there's more to do, we'll have to like have more allocated time, won't we?
Oh, yeah.
But again, it comes all with juggling other things in your life. Like when this becomes more of a forefront of our lives, then that will also change. So,
yeah.
Next
on the list, what did I say? So we asked ourselves quite early on, what sets us apart from everyone else and why? And I feel like that was pretty crucial for like competitors, market research, things like that, which was what was our why? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why were we doing this?
Yes.
What was the purpose? Do we have love for it? Because if we don't, there's no point.
Yeah.
You know, because I think there's a huge like surge of energy that came from that. We were like, we have our why. We know what we're doing it for. And damn everyone else, if they don't care about it, this is what we love.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that in hindsight was really like crucial to keeping like energy up, especially when we were in rocky stages and things weren't going to plan and you had things that were unpredictable. And we always like reverted back to, why are we doing this? What's our purpose? What's our reason for it?
Yeah.
You know? And I feel like, sorry, were you going to say something?
No, I was just going to say that's really nice. But I was like, go on.
But so I feel like that was something that isn't, I know we said this was going to be something like we wish we'd have known.
Yeah.
But I wanted to put that in there as things that like, it's noted and I'm so glad that we did it.
Yeah.
I feel like it was really beneficial for us.
Yeah. I just thought of something based on that. Similarly, like when that was like our why, like you say, like why we were doing it. But I know when you're creating something, a brand or a product, there's usually the question of like, why are you selling it? Like, why do people want to buy it? That's like, I think a lot of investors or whatever will ask you that question, like, why do we need this?
Yeah.
And I think with ours, like we talked about that a lot, because you could argue, well, you don't really, like, you know, but I think what's lovely about it is that, well, firstly, because it's not been done before, so you kind of do need it, but it's also almost a form of art, isn't it? Like, it's an expression of, like, design is art, and clothing and individuality and all of that. So in a way, it kind of, to contradict that question, no one needs it, but like, we all do at the same time. And that's like the beauty of it. So, but they're interesting questions to ask yourself, I think. And I think if you're clear on the answer, that can be, as you say, like the driving force. Like, why are you doing it, and why does everyone else need it, sort of thing. Which, as you say, not something to learn from for us, but something that has helped. Definitely.
Well, because even when, again, this kind of links onto my next point of like unpredictability. So there were, as I touched on before, there were times where things were just like thrown at us and we didn't foresee it, and we were like, okay, whether it was like cost or time delays or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was the why and the purpose that kept us grounded. We're like, okay, this is our mission. Like, it's fine. We're just going to plow on through, work the problem, you know.
Oh, that's my biggest thing, actually. When I answer this question of what I wish I'd have known, it's 100% everything will always take longer than you think it's going to, and it will always cost more than you think it's going to. Like
double it.
Even when you allow, I was going to say, even when you allow time. So they say to you, oh, it's like 4 to 6 weeks. So you think, okay, let's say 6. Then you think, let's give it 8. It's probably going to be at least 12, honestly. So like things like that. And I don't know why that is. It's just, there's always delays.
And there's just always like a train of things going on. So
other
it's like
people, and
just because we're ready, other people aren't, and they've got other things. Like it's impatience really that we're like, right, okay, fine.
It's just frustrating when you're given
time frame.
when you're given like 4 to 6 weeks, for example. It is frustrating.
All estimates though.
Yeah. And then the same with the cost thing, which I think we did mention on one of the podcasts. Like, for example, you think you're just ordering the garments and you're paying for that. But then the shipping cost is on top of that, and there's probably tax on top of all of that stuff.
That varies from manufacturer to manufacturer. That
whether it's included or whether it's an additional. True.
For us, it wasn't outlined, or we didn't ask the question, or whatever it was, we missed it, and there was a huge import tax for us to pay, and we didn't see it come in. We didn't. Again, our naivety just didn't even think about it, didn't even know about it.
No. And my like...
And it's based on like the weight, the worth. Oh,
I know.
I was like, okay, so right, hit me with it.
Yeah.
What?
And
what's the damage?
My way of thinking is like, because I just think it's so... It all has a reason. This is probably bad of me to say. There's a reason for all of it, like the cost of it. But for me, it's so like... unjustified. So I'm like, I don't want to acknowledge it. So I'm like,
like you've paid the shipping, so why to give it me?
Yeah.
And so do I now need to pay extra?
Yeah, I sit there like almost not wanting it to be a real thing and being like,
it's just monopoly money.
We're just not going to do that. We're not going to. That's ridiculous. But then Rube is always the person who's like, well, we better pay it then. And I'm like,
I don't need the sleepless nights.
I don't want to.
Yeah, I think it's more in your nature to like challenge it, I guess.
Yeah, exactly, challenge it.
I'm a bit like, I just want peace. Just pay it.
Which sometimes is beneficial, challenging it, but on the more
I think
often
there's pros
than
and cons
not,
to both.
I just cause myself more aggravation, whereas I should just be like, well, that's what we have to do.
Yeah.
Which we have. We've gone through that. Yeah.
What else? So that was things that are out of our control.
Something you mentioned, I might be jumping ahead on your thing, but
carry on.
You mentioned like copyright and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's one that thankfully we've been okay and we've managed to like cover our backs on things, haven't we? But we didn't do it as early on as we probably should have. And I think...
Well, no, because... Sorry to interrupt.
Well, we did have the name thing.
But... Yeah, so that was literally what I was going to say. Like, we hit the stumbling block. What episode was that?
Maybe the first episode from the beginning. If you haven't seen it, episode 1 from the beginning, we mentioned this.
Yeah, but it was...
we had a name, Venture.
Yeah. And then it was taken.
It was taken, but we didn't find that out until a year down the line.
Yeah.
How stupid are we?
I know, sometimes I hear the words that come out of our mouth and I'm like...
I don't know why we
thought I was like of moderate intelligence.
That is how naive we are, though.
How?
I know. I think because we'd Googled it, like we'd searched for venture and nothing had come up. Yeah. So in your head, you're like, oh, it's fine.
Yeah.
But then it's actually far more than that. It could be someone who has property of that name that isn't even using it, but they just own it. So as we said in our other episode, we had to rethink that. And thankfully, we came up with Venture Lifestyles, which was approved and we're really happy with. And again, everything happens for a reason. I love it now.
Yeah.
Venture seems too short and
unfinished.
Yeah, exactly. So it works. But I think that is a big one for me.
Yeah, like protection.
If we'd have known that from the very beginning, before you do anything else, as soon as you've got your name, your concept or your unique idea and whether it's your shape or your logo, just get that all covered and then you're
even
locked in.
Simple things. So some advice we were given from a lawyer. He basically said that even giving yourself such simple protection as if you have like a piece of art or a design that you like, you sign it, you date it, whether it's on the bottom right-hand corner, like you see on most canvases, do you know what I mean? From the artist, like you sign it, you date it, like straight away, whether it's handwritten or text or whatever, like that's the most basic form of protection you can give yourself, because even when it's almost like a deterrent as well for the people, because they know that you're on the ball and that you know the very basics of how to protect your design or like your art.
Yeah, because as I think we mentioned, you can't actually protect certain things, can you? Like,
yeah, so things have like basic design rights.
Yeah.
But there are things that, there's a few like loopholes where you're like, oh, I'd really love to like have a little bit more on that. And it's just like, you've got the basic rights as does everybody else. So
exactly.
But so I also think in terms of like protection, this has just sprung to mind, it's not even on here. So you've got like copyright, trademarks, things like that. But other forms of protection were contracts that we like between you and me, between other people that we work with, you know, like whether they're freelancers or, you know, we spoke about briefly about Harris, your brother.
Yes.
And how when he helped design the logo, he signed over all his design rights like to us. You know, and that was something that luckily we had that advice quite early on.
We joked about it, didn't we, at the time? But we were lucky to understand that from and like you say, between ourselves, it felt like the weirdest thing. But we have wrote up a contract between like an agreement, let's say, of like what we own of it, and also then like, heaven forbid, like something to happen to one of us or whatever, would that automatically be handed over to the other person? Would you pass it to someone? Like, obviously at the moment we're not like profitable or anything, so we can't, you know, but even just your place in the business, like it holds.
It sets the tone as well. So like you've got the solid foundations then of even hopefully as and when we grow, we know that we've got those foundations of like legally everything's protected. We've got that peace of mind. And, you know, even the contracts we've drawn up like with you, Clark, you know, and we tried to keep it lighthearted and fun. And it's not just a transaction, and the wording that we use is all intentional. And, you know, you can make it your own, but it's still a legal document. It's still an agreement. That name,
that signature, that date. Yeah.
Yeah. But in terms of like, especially as if you're creating a product or, you know, not even a product, it's like any form of art or in design in general, having those like IP, like intellectual property, like knowing your rights on those things is so important. Like we're still learning now, but we know that we've got the fundamentals, and one of the main things is actually protecting yourself overseas.
Yes.
Like, completely different ball game. You know, it's not like, okay, so now we've done all that we can on like .gov or whatever.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Like, it's completely different.
Yeah.
As soon as you go international, which hopefully we do, then it's the protection then changes and you're not automatically granted what you thought you were.
No.
You know, and we were told as well that as soon as you publish a website, that there are people out there who literally just like scouring the net looking for new companies, startups to see what ideas they have and just mimic it straight away.
Yeah, I mean, you see it all the time, don't you? These dupes of, oh, yeah.
And and the advice that we got from, I can't remember his name.
Yeah, who was it who mentioned this?
Either way, I can see his face. Sorry.
was it the lawyer we spoke to?
I can't remember his name. Basim and Andy Basim. I don't know. I'm not gonna name him. Anyway, he that's my train of thought now.
You're saying that he was saying that hold it because the moment you release it,
and he
you
said
need
how
to be
quick
ready.
The turnaround was.
That in China
like,
there will be a version
of it
next week.
Like the next day.
Yeah.
Well, one or the other.
One or the other. A day a week.
Yeah, it's quick.
I was just going to say, off the back of the contract thing, NDAs, I think, we mentioned this before, but non-disclosure agreement. So again, whenever you're working with someone, it just protects even the idea of them sharing it with others. Like, it just is like everything we discuss is going to be kept between us. Because it'd be very easy for someone to not necessarily copy your idea, but share it with someone else who's going to copy it. And so, that just, again, especially if it is quite a unique concept, which we were advised very quickly on. And thankfully we had someone who could help us format it as well, because that would have been, I'm sure there are templates for it. But we made that happen. And even now, sometimes the formality of it, I find annoying, having to say to someone, hi, do you mind just signing this just before it's not like that I don't trust you. Because you don't want to create a barrier with that person. Sometimes, you don't trust me.
Yeah, sometimes they respect it though. It's a minority, but a couple of times they've actually approached us do you have an NDA for us to sign before we talk about this?
Yeah, because they want to cover their back.
Baby, do we?
Yeah.
Seduce me, why don't you?
No, it's so
safe
true.
to say we still work with those people.
Yeah. Whereas other people, it's feels like a whole thing, doesn't it? And it's like an uncomfortable conversation.
Yeah. And sure. We'll just
send it over. We'll have read. We'll have a look at that. And
you're
like, just sign the line. So each to their own. It has to be done. Anything else?
Next on the list, I have create a team.
Oh, yeah.
Don't be arrogant enough to think you can do it alone. Hone your strengths and welcome others for theirs. Clark Harris, for example.
Yeah. So this is a really interesting one. Shout out to Clark.
He's waving.
So, in terms of forming a team, this is a tricky one because when we started, we didn't need anyone else in terms of the actual design. In fact, the more people, sometimes the more complicated it gets. Like a lot of opinions, a lot of ideas, especially if you're not all on the same wavelength. And you definitely don't want to bring people on board for the sake of it. You know, like we have some lovely friends, but what would be the point in us all doing it together, you know? So in terms of that, not needed. However, as you say, being honest with yourself about your skill set and what you can do and what you need help with, I think is very important. And depending on, how you decide to do it, whether you bring someone on and you pay them for their services, whether they come on board and are just willing to be part of the process and reap the rewards in the future, that's something you have to discuss. But I think as we've mentioned, we've been very lucky that we've had people around us that have kind of worked as advisors or just given us a bit of an opinion, or even like, as you say, like someone like Harris who has experience and skills in graphic design that's just been like, oh, let me have a look at this for you. Like, that's great.
And like my brother.
Yeah,
for,
exactly.
Like business advice and things like that.
So for us, I honestly wish we could have formed more of a team by this point.
Yeah.
100%. Because at this point we are at the phase where we want to be delegating. We want to be saying, can you just do the social media? Can you just be in charge of marketing? Like any chance you can just be admin, just sort our emails out, you know? I would love that. But again, for us, it's so small scale at the moment that we couldn't justify it as such, like financially, because we can't bring people on and start paying them a wage that's for that, you know, they would comfortably be able to put in the energy that we need them to for what we can pay them.
I just think for the small team that we have now, everyone is like focused on like their skill set, what their passion is. And we've somehow managed to incorporate that within the brand. So it almost it's just like illuminating. Do you know what I mean? So no one's doing something that's like, oh, you know, like I'm not, like we're doing loads of things. I'm not talking about us.
No,
there are things we'd like to pass off. But, you know, for people that we are working with, I like to think that that's their passion, and that's why like quality like shines through. Do you know what I mean? Because people are doing what they want to do.
Yes.
And like luckily that benefits us because it's not our strength.
No.
And it's not in our skill set.
Yeah.
And as I say, I just think it's great that we can just like admit that and be like, okay, but it's yours. And I love what you do. So
and
yes,
we are excited. Like, oh, don't get me wrong. We dream about the moments where we have a full team, don't we? We're so excited to give people the opportunity to work for a company that prioritizes even just like well-being and all that is really important to us, but also having a creative space and being able to be individual as a person.
And I also can't wait to learn from these people. Like, I think sometimes people make the assumption that, oh, you've founded the company, or like, so you must know loads, or you must have it, like, you just want to free up some of your time. And I'm just like, no, I don't think so. I don't think that will be the case for us.
No.
I think it'll be, we love what you do and how you do it. Can you show us or like give us some of your feedback or like what are your ideas? And like, want everyone to have a voice as well. I think that will be like a real crucial thing, not like they're going to say something and get zero credit.
Yes.
Which I know is a big thing in brands.
What will be interesting for us is because our principles and not morals, values, company values are so like strong and like deep rooted. When we choose to work with people, we're very selective of who we let in, and even with friends and things, even just sharing the idea of it, we're selective of who we want to, because you just need good energy like put into it. And it'll be interesting as we go further down the line how we recruit people, because even someone, as you say, with like the skill set of, someone with a degree in marketing who has experience with this and this, if they're not understanding of our morals, values, vision, I'm like, I just don't really want to work with you.
I think ultimately you have to have that like chemistry.
Chemistry as well.
Call it wishful thinking. Like, I want someone who's good at their job, but also makes me laugh, and we have banter, and do you know what I mean? It's a nice environment. It's a healthy environment to be in. Yeah. Like, that is doable. I'm not reaching for the stars here. Like,
well, to go off that actually. So Clark here. So this podcast was an idea we've had and have been working on for a while. And I say we stumbled across Clark, but he's actually my parents' neighbour. So this was just a surreal thing where we had someone who was literally on our doorstep. And this is why it's so incredible, really. Like that you can, someone's been there for quite a few years, and then just at that right moment, you just connect with that person. And again, even the reason we connected wasn't for this, and it just came from, it evolved into this. And as we say, we came to Clark, we had, it was a bit of a pilot, really. It was just an idea. It was just, I can maybe help you with this. He has some skills in this. And then the actual collaboration and idea to work together, I feel, only came because of how dynamic it was. And it's just been great. It's been
maybe
really
not.
Great. He's nodding. He's just taking it all in.
Put you on the spot. Sorry.
But no, truly, and it's, so that's been wonderful. And who knows where it'll go from here, but whether it is just podcast but I love that we've had discussions outside of this with Clark where he understands the vision and is the kind of person who would wear our clothing and would promote our clothing and all that. So that's really exciting. And so we've hit on a good one there, but doesn't always happen.
No.
So So
more of those, please.
Yeah, exactly.
More Clarks. Carbon copies. What else have I got on here? If it's self-funded, sounds obvious, but save as much as you can. Unexpected costs can happen and risk stunting progress, which, and we touched on that earlier a little bit by saying that, things are unpredictable and
you always need more money than you think you're going to need. So if you're budgeting a certain amount, expect that it's going to be more. Which, and
I think
hard.
Outlining the best that you can, get quotes way before you're thinking of actually acting on it.
That's so true.
Having almost like a roadmap and a clear vision of what everything's going to cost, when it's going to cost you, when you want to be making that transaction. And based on, obviously everyone's circumstances are different based on how much you earn, because, it's different. Not everybody is on the same wage and can give the same amount each month or save or, so.
And obviously based on that is how long it's going to take, isn't it? Because things are going to take longer if it takes you longer to build the pot. So that's just
we were quite fortunate really that we're on the same page. We've always.
We've always been open about it as well.
Not sure.
And
give me 6 more months.
Exactly. But we'll also say that's pushing it for me. That's
Yeah. What about?
I'd prefer
knock
not
a zero
for
off.
now.
And you've got me.
But that's all about honest, open conversation, which again, I don't know, we don't need to learn from this. I feel like we've had this from the start, but whenever you're working with someone,
that's based on our relationship, though, which goes back to building a team, someone that you can be open with, and
you just have
communicate
to have that.
And I don't know, helped us. I know that for sure.
Definitely.
What else? So
we've got a lot going here. This is good.
So go with your gut was one.
Oh yeah.
There are things that we've escaped marginally because of gut feelings. We were like, phew. And
that comes down to, I think, being in tune really with yourself, and because as soon as you take your foot off the pedal or your eye off the mark or whatever it is, as soon as you let other things distract you, it's easy to miss things and let things happen, and that's where I think mistakes are made. So I think, being in tune with what you're doing and who you're working with in the process helps that gut feeling. And I think thankfully, as you say, we've kind of been okay with that. But there are times where we probably could have acted on things sooner. Or, which is just comes with confidence and not doubting yourself, really, doesn't it?
Taking risks as well. I think early on, naturally we weren't willing to take risks, and now we've kind of learnt along the way that you have to take risks of some kind to make progress. Sometimes they don't pay off and you fall 2 steps backwards, but it will lead you somewhere else, or you learn something from it and you won't make the same mistake again.
Yeah, true.
So gut feeling for me. To be honest, I live my life that way though. I listen to my gut for everything.
Oh yeah.
So that's again a real grounding focal point for me. I'm literally okay, just take all emotion out of it. What's my gut telling me? Because sometimes it's so overwhelming. As we said before, we try and bite off more than we can chew, and we're trying from all aspects of the brand to get this done and design from that, and have we paid that, and have we contacted them, and we're in the same heartbeat, And can just be a lot. I think sometimes just got to really like simplify it. Like, right, what's my gut telling me? That's what we'll do.
Yeah. That's good advice, that is.
Is there anything else I thought of?
I'm trying to think.
No, I put like we've already touched on this. I just said create a roadmap, a clear vision of where you want things to be, so you'll have a solid focus.
Yeah.
So like whether that's like a timeline or I
was just going to say that where you see yourself in 5 years thing that lots of people do. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. No. I think you have to be, you have to be open to changes. And I also think where you see yourself in 5 years, almost always it won't be there. In the end, you'll go a different route, or you might get there, but it won't be the way you think you're going to get there, kind of thing. Yeah. But yeah, I think more than anything, it just gives you focus, as you say. It gives you purpose and a reason to keep ticking things over and working towards something.
I don't know if it's off a film or if it was like a speech, but was it Matthew McConaughey that was like, he's his own... It's a bit cheesy, but it's true. He's his own like role model in 10 years' time. Like he's never stopping bettering himself.
That's cool.
And he's always like so when he hits the milestone and he's like, right, I'm here. What have I achieved? And then he's like, okay, so now you've hit it. Watch it. And he's like, me in 10 years' time. Yeah. Like he's always trying to. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Better himself.
Yeah.
But I think always like with a focus and a goal in mind.
Yeah.
And I think why not dream?
I know. I think having shared, because we probably have our own personal ones, but having a shared one for a business is important, isn't it? And as the team gets bigger, making sure everyone else understands that.
Well, it influences all the decisions you make. Like, it certainly has ours. Do you know what I mean? Like, when we know we've got an end point or an end goal, well, that's not going to get us there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Scrap that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think clarity is maybe like the key word for that.
Yeah.
Like clarifying everything, having an end goal, dream a little bit.
Yeah, clear vision.
Yeah.
Communication.
Kept us going.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
exciting.
That's me again in 10 years.
Exactly.
If I'm still my own role model.
I've never heard that. I love that.
Yeah. I'll try and find a clip.
Yeah. That's good.
Who doesn't love Matthew McConaughey? But yeah, that was it. That's all I had.
Great. That was good. Very, very good. I felt like we covered a lot actually there. Yeah. Don't want to overwhelm you, so I feel like we'll leave it at that. But yeah, that was really helpful for me, honestly. Just, it's so nice. As I said, I think before, it's nice to reflect on something, justify it and be like, oh, that's why that happened. And it's really insightful.
Yeah. I'm not afraid of hindsight anymore.
No, not at all.
It's like even the horrible things or the things that like near crushed us.
Yeah.
Like, agreed. Oh, no, it's okay.
It also links into our next, I think we've planned our next podcast. I think we want to talk about a little bit more about the backstory, don't we, of us? And this kind of links to it, our strengths and weaknesses. And
well, some of the feedback that we had was we love to hear about like venture and the brand and everything, but a few people have said now that they like want to know more about you. We want like what led you here, what was your inspiration, what encouraged you to start this brand,
exactly,
So multiple influences, I guess.
Yeah. So that's, it leads on nicely, really.
Yeah,
so,
which will be episode 8.
8, and that'll be out next Sunday. So look forward to seeing you there.
Yeah, hope to see you there.
Thank you.
Bye.